Good morning to everyone. I can call our meeting to order. For the record, this is the March meeting of the Wilson County Board of Zoning Appeals. Appreciate everyone coming this morning. We have a prepared agenda. Do we have anyone in the audience this morning who has a case before the board who wishes to withdraw or have your case perhaps deferred to a later meeting? And if we have no one, the agenda will stand as published. Just to let everyone know, we have a court recorder with us this morning that's taking a transcript of our proceedings. The court recorder is provided at the expense of Wilson County. If you would like a copy of the transcript of a particular case, you can certainly get a copy. It would be at your expense, and if you would see the court recorder after the conclusion of our meeting for that transcript. Also, under the heading of court recorder, the TV folks are recording the meeting this morning, so everyone just be aware that the cameras are active. If you do plan to make a statement in front of the board this morning as an applicant, or you're going to make a comment in favor or in opposition to a case, you need to be sworn in. So at this time, if you plan to make a comment in front of the board, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give before this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Just as a reminder to everyone, if you would please silence your cell phones. When I call each case, I'll read the case, and then we'll hear staff recommendations from Mr. Brashear. And then after he's given his recommendations, we will let the applicant come to the podium, and we'll hear from them, and then anyone else who wishes to speak either in favor or in opposition to the case will have the opportunity to do so. In regard to each case, we do have staff recommendations that have been prepared by our professional staff, and the board will be relying on those recommendations as we render our decisions. To the members of the board, you were forwarded a few days ago the minutes from our meeting of February. You've had a chance to review those. At this time, are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes from our February meeting? If not, do I hear a motion that we approve minutes from the month of February?
So moved.
Have a motion. I'll second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it. Okay. Moving into our agenda. Our first case is case 4072. Peter Schulert is requesting an extension on an expired building permit. The building permit was applied for on December the 31st, 2018. The permit was renewed and associated fees were paid February the 2nd, 2021. The insulation inspection passed on June the 13th, 2022. The property is located at 3287 Old Rome Pike, parcel 9.01 on Wilson County Tax Map 42. The property consists of 222 acres and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4072.
Mr. Chairman, if you've read the summary there, I'm going to dispense with the first paragraph of my comments because that's basically the same information you just went over. The building permit issued in the county expires 24 months after issuance, in which the structure or residence is to be completed unless the applicant receives some sort of extension or relief from this board, none of which has been done for this structure in the 24-month period. There is no language in the zoning ordinance that discusses staff's authority to grant permit extensions. Therefore, it rests with the purview of the board as to whether or not they wish to grant such an extension.
Okay, who's here to represent 4072? Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm Peter Schubert.
Okay, and who's going to speak?
Peter can go first. I'm Cliff Carey. I'm the builder for.
Okay. Give us your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Peter Schubert,
My address is 1912 Mays Chapel Road in Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Mhm.
And we've just had a difficult, it's a complex project. COVID and supply chains, and we've had other hurdles that we were hoping to get about a 6-month extension. We've already hit the extension, but we just asking to help us there. We've already, the time frame and budget frame are already multiples of what I first anticipated. So,
Okay, so you originally applied in 18.
that's correct.
And Mr. Carey, did you want to?
Applied, which was in 18. We had started with the first architect and the design, and then when we came back and reapplied, we basically redesigned the project, started with a new architect, and that's kind of how this time frame has been extended. You know, that's one of the reasons, like Peter said, you know, supply chain issues, COVID, dealing with all that. It's also a very complex project. I don't know if y'all have seen pictures or not, but there's a lot going on there. And we're in the finishing stages at this point. So
Does the board have questions for the applicant?
How much time do you foresee you would need to finish it, or?
we're asking for a 6-month extension on it. Don't think it's going to take that long. We're in the process of doing the final paint, finishing the floors and everything inside the house. So we're right there at the end of the project. Just asking for your extension.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here that wishes to address 4072 Schulert? Okay. If not, I'll close the public hearing, turning to the board in regard to case 4072. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. I don't know that we want to put the 6 months on there or not. Is that for
That's with
discussion?
some time frame.
Okay.
So it
Is
could
a
be 6
year-
months, it could be a year, whatever.
Put a year. I mean, that's 6 more months than you're asking for. I'll make a motion to put it on there for a year.
Have a motion to extend the permit for the period of 1 year. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that a year from today?
I would think.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And are all the fees and whatnot up to date, everything, good at this point?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition vote no, and the ayes have it. Thank you all very much. Our next case will be case 4073. James and Lisa Fox are requesting to renew a short-term rental use. The board approved the short-term rental on March the 17th, 2022 for 1 year. The property is located at 3110 South Rutland Road, Lot 4, Clemens property, parcel 35.04 on Wilson County Tax Map 95. The property consists of 5.12 acres and is zoned R1 residential. We'll get staff recommendations on 4073.
Mr. Chairman, the initial approval for this short-term rental or bed and breakfast use as defined in our zoning ordinance occurred on March 17, 2022. You granted it for a period of 1 year, as is the requirement of this particular use permissible on appeal. You have to approve it for a finite period of time. The use and amenities of the property have not changed, nor have there been any public complaints on the property that staff is aware of. Staff can recommend approval of the request. There is no language in the zoning ordinance granting staff permission to renew it automatically, or renew the bed and breakfast or short-term rental provision automatically. The board may consider such a request. The staff will point out that in previous renewal cases such as this, if the request is approved, the board typically has granted an extended renewal period of 2 years.
Have we had a standard of 2 or 3, or is?
I think you've done some for 3 or even 5, but I think the 5-year one was maybe the 3rd time as opposed to second.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, who's here to represent 4073 Fox? Yes, ma'am. Name and address for our records, please.
3086 South Rutland Road.
And name?
My name is Lisa Fox.
Okay. Anything you'd like to tell the board?
Not at this time. We are requesting that occupancy go from 6 to 7, if that's possible.
6 to 7
It was 6, we're approved for 6, but if we could get to
People?
go to 7. Yeah, 7 people.
What's the Soils approval for? How many bedrooms do you have approval for?
It's a 3-bedroom house.
And I guess that's a 3-bedroom Soils area? Normally, we have been given 2 individuals per bedroom.
Okay,
It's sort of the guideline we followed in the past.
all right.
Does the board have questions for the applicant?
What's the 7th one for? What's the
We
reason
have
behind that?
We have a bed, what do you call it? A couch with a bed in it in the living room, and we're just, just to add it if they wanted to have another person there. That's the only reason.
It says, I think I'm right here, it says you're planning to build another bedroom and bathroom downstairs, is that?
Maybe in the future, yes.
Be aware, you're not approved for such. You have a 3-bedroom
Right,
per,
right. We keep it at 6.
and the bedroom in itself would violate the permit you have.
Understood.
Or the septic permit.
Understood.
Other questions from the board?
Have, in the past varied from this 2 people per bedroom, or pretty well maintained?
We've pretty much, I think, Tom,
Except where bed and breakfast or short-term rentals have been approved on septic, we've got a pretty good precedent for trying to stick with the rule of thumb, and that's all it is that we've ever gotten from the state, which is each bedroom represents approximately 2 people occupancy.
any more questions from the board for the applicant?
I will point out that septic approval and septic occupancy rates are strictly the purview of the State of Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation, Division of Groundwater Protection.
Well, I think it's good to have some kind of a rule of thumb to go
Sure,
by
absolutely.
and try to stick to it if you can.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. If there are no more questions from the board for the applicant, is there anyone else here that wishes to address 4073 Fox? No? Thank you very much. All right. If there's no one else who wishes to speak, we'll close the public hearing and turning to the board in regard to case 4073, James and Lisa Fox. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we approve this case for 2 years, and then the maximum number of guests stays at 6.
Okay, I have a motion to approve 4073 for 2 years with the other criteria that's involved with the approval staying the same.
Stays the same as it was when you first approved,
Do I
yes.
have a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board. If there is no discussion, all in favor of the motion vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no, and the ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, our next case is case 4074, Paul Crockett on behalf of Brian Hughes, requesting a variance of 8 feet from the west side yard setback requirement of 10 feet. The variance will allow the proposed detached garage to be 2 feet from the west side yard property line. Applicant is also needing a variance from the lot's size requirement of 40,000 square feet. The property is located at 430 Twin Cove Drive, Lot 13. Twin Cove is Group A, parcel 24 and 25, on Wilson County Tax Map 14E. The property consists of 30,450 square feet and is zoned A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations now on 4074.
Mr. Chairman, again, I'll finish reading the first paragraph of my comments. That just simply re-summarizes what the request is for. This is an older lot of record that was created in 1963, prior to 1974, when Wilson County adopted zoning. Therefore, given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff can recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. And who's here to represent 4074? Yes, sir.
My name's Brian Hughes, thank you guys, and
Address, please.
410 Twin Cove and also 430 Twin Cove. It's a project being built right now as we speak. And the request that came from Paul was based on the fact that I had originally had him survey the two properties, and we combined what were two lake lots together. So we created the one lot, and then having my house plans, once reconstruction came out and we were going according to the plans and the variance, it put my garage directly behind the house, and it is on a lake, so it just completely destroyed any view that I had with the lake view at the variance that it was originally set at. And so I reached back out to Mr. Crockett because he had helped me with the original pins and getting it surveyed, and I asked, was there any way possible that I could get the variance that I had requested, but in fact, he was the one that asked for the 2 foot. I actually asked to be on the line, and the reason that I asked to be on the line is because the adjoining lot, according to everything that I have been able to ascertain via Paul and my neighbor that has given me the information, is that is it is a lot that has been appropriated for usage for that whole entire neighborhood to use as access to the lake. So it cannot be built on at any point in the future because it does not belong to any particular person, but has been given as a right-of-way to the lake. And so I was hoping that I could even go the additional 2 feet and be on the line due to the fact that the lot beside me is, from what I understand in my research, is inusable. And I had asked Mr. Crockett that, but he was very quick to say that he didn't want me to ask for the moon, but just to hopefully go for the 2 foot. And so I abided by his word because obviously he's probably knows more than I do, but if it were any way that I could have the additional 2 foot, it would really promote the layout of my garage even more because it separates it from my home just that little bit. That would allow me some separation where otherwise I'm going to be just in the middle of the driveway, or we'll have to reconfigure for the other. If I get the 2 feet, I'll be very thankful and grateful. But if there was any way that I could get the additional 2 feet, if it didn't impede anything or hurt.
Wait a minute. I don't want to get confused.
Yes, sir.
You're asking for 8 feet of a 10-foot variance,
Mr. Crockett asked for 8, and I'm asking for an addition to be
but the
on.
setback is 10, so you want 100% variance?
Again, I was told by
If you'll
Mr.
give it,
Crockett
he'll take
that I shouldn't ask for the moon, but I'm
I mean, that
just
would put
asking
you
for the moon.
right on the property line.
Sir?
That puts you on the property line.
And yes, sir, and I'm aware of that, but the property line is one that cannot be built. It is a 75-foot walkway to the public access to the lake, and has been that way, and there's no way to buy the land. There's nobody that owns the land. It was donated, or it was given through some
No, they bought it back when they impounded Old Hickory Lake, and they're scattered all around the perimeter of the impoundment, and it belongs to the U.S. Corps of Engineers.
so, but from my understanding.
Tom, this isn't the one y'all are in dispute over, is it?
No, sir, but I will say that the road commission, which is the primary agency that has quitclaimed any interest we have in such lake accesses and unimproved right-of-ways over the years, is reevaluating their stance and policy on these as a result of ongoing dispute or disputes with regard to lake accesses.
But
So,
this isn't the one y'all
this is not
had-
the one, no. This is not that one.
Okay.
But it is a lake access. I will tell you that 2 feet is mighty close to the property line to begin with, and it would not be staff's recommendation, given the checkered history with what happens to these lake access lots over time, to vary from that. I think Paul gave you good advice.
And well taken. I just, I thought I would ask because again,
Yes, sir.
Can't get an answer if I don't ask, so.
I understand.
But
Okay.
absolutely,
Anything else you'd like to
2
tell the
foot
board?
view. No, sir, that's it.
Does the board have questions for the applicant?
I have a question for Tom, maybe. If he combined 2 lots, does that not jeopardize his grandfather status? Or not really?
Technically speaking, I suppose it could. You know, I don't know, I'll have to go back and do a little bit more research about whether or not that's happened.
If I may, on that, Paul would inform me that by combining the 2 lots, that I did not jeopardize the grandfather, and that was what he had spoke to me. Again, I'm not saying that it is or isn't, but he did mention that, and the reason I'm aware that that was brought up was because at the time, because I own the adjacent lot at 410, I was trying to get my 410 lot moved a little bit to include more of the double lot, and he said that by doing so, it would have jeopardized the grandfather, so therefore, I was unable to move my pen from 410 to the 430, because he said that I couldn't do that because
The combination simply improves the grandfather status situation in terms of nonconformity, because it's giving him additional square footage
Right.
at present.
I understand it cleans up the situation, but if you combine 2 lots and you create a new lot,
Technically would burn the grandfather, however, again, I think you've got to look at a practicality
Okay.
here that,
not a problem.
yeah.
Okay, does the board have any other questions?
I got
for
a
the
question.
applicant? Yes, sir.
For the applicant. I'm just looking at this plot plan. Looks like you've got plenty of space. What's the hardship of moving this to the 10-foot limit?
again, it creates the garage being directly behind the master bedroom and the lower part of the house, so that it completely impedes the view to the lake. So by moving it over, even with the 2-foot variance, I can reduce my footprint, and then it'll be straight down the driveway. But as it is now, because of another ordinance or because of one of the technicalities, they could not have my garage facing the driveway, so I had to come in and turn into the garage. Therefore, it was going to be positioned literally I was going to be looking out of my master bedroom instead of seeing the lake at the roof.
Let me stop you right there.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
if you're here to get a variance on this garage, so that and you have an older lot of record, and you're maybe due a variance because of the grandfather situation.
Yes, sir.
And if you might be doing that, so that you can have a straight shot into your garage, and it would, obviously work better for you, that's one thing. We
Yes, sir.
consider that. Your view is not something that we
I understand that, sir. No, I understand that. That's why.
But you keep bringing up your view, and that's
Well, I
just not
prefaced
something
it
we
with-
can
I prefaced it
deal
with
with.
I was gonna have to either do away with or move it to another area. So if I'm allowed the variance, then I can move forward with being able to still.
I can see you wanting to go straight into your garage. I can understand
Yeah,
that.
and I realize that's neither here nor there for your guys' purpose, but that is the request, yes, sir.
Any other questions for the applicant? If not, let me ask you, is there anyone else here that wishes to address 4074 Brian Hughes? No? If not, then I'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
And turning to the board in regard to 4074, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we approve this request as it's stated before us, based on staff recommendations and the fact that it is an older lot of record.
Okay, I have a motion to approve 4074 as requested for 8 foot of the 10-foot variance. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board. Okay. If there is no discussion, all in favor of the motion as stated, vote aye. Aye. Opposition, vote no.
No.
And I have 1 no. Okay. Is it Howard?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 yeses and 1 no. Motion passes. Okay. Our next case is case 4075. Kurt McKithen requesting to establish a business use for a design studio. The property is located at 8924 Stewart's Ferry Pike, parcel 108.01 on Wilson County Tax Map 116. The property consists of .53 acres and is zoned R1 residential. We'll get staff recommendations now on 4075.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to establish a business use for a design studio. This parcel is currently zoned R1 rural residential, and there is an existing home on the property out of which the applicant intends to run their business. In fact, the inside of the home is largely been redesigned into an office space. The home will not serve as a residence and will serve as the workplace for 5 employees. The language in the zoning ordinance states that the business carried out in residential property should adhere to the following guidelines. Have no more than one employee who does not reside in the home. The business should utilize no more than 25% of the usable floor area of all buildings provided, and no article or service should be sold or offered for sale on the premise other than that produced by such occupation. And number 2, such occupation shall not require the alteration of buildings, new construction or equipment and machinery not customarily used in residential areas. And these conditions are all in addition to it being used as a primary residence, which in this case it's not. Given the language of the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval of a commercial use on residential zone property. Staff will point out that there is a commercial business being operated near this property that is also zoned R1 rural residential, and I believe has Board of Zoning Appeals approval in the past. It's a car repair facility. There are also multiple C3 zone parcels near this lot, providing direction for this lot to potentially be rezoned if necessary. What they've done to the house is nothing short of, I would say, aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. They also have gotten a permit and installed an accessory building they intend to store materials in, and it's likely the best looking material storage shed I've seen. So it's a beautiful facility and everything. I just don't have a lot of way to fit this square peg in a round hole, or a round peg in a square hole in a R1 rural residential district.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4075 McKithen?
I am.
Yes, sir. You want to come forward and give us your name and address, please?
My name is Kurt McKeithen, 8924 Stewart's Ferry Pike.
Okay. What would you like to tell the board, sir?
I'd like to figure out how to make it where we can work out there, even if we can turn commercial, if it's, if we can go that way, I would like to do that. Started off as a home office. We use one room as our main computer room for my 5 girls. I'm normally there probably...
5 girls are your children?
No, 5 employees.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, 5 employees. Haven't got my kids to work for me yet. I'm working on it. So, I would like to find a way to make it where we can work out of there. The whole purpose when I got that house was to make it a design studio, and it just kind of grew and grew rapidly and quickly. Before I knew it, we had 5 employees, and they all work out of one room, and I work out of the kitchen pretty much.
And what kind of design studio is it?
It's an interior design firm, so we do everything from architectural drawings all the way to picking out samples, countertops, you name it. So we do everything kind of full key turn. The only thing we don't do is construction.
Okay. Questions from the board for the applicant?
Do you have a customer base or client base that ever comes there in person, or is it all over computer or all over phone?
Yes, sir. I would say probably maybe once a week to maybe once every 2 weeks. They'll come in probably for like an hour just to see what we're doing. We normally invite them over for like around lunchtime, and we'll make them pizza in our kitchen, and what we'll do is just let them kind of sit there, and we have a big TV computer that lifts up the island, and we'll put it all in 3D so they can kind of walk through the project. We try to make it like an experience for them, a little different than just going, hey, here's your stuff. So we try to show them how you walk through the project and stuff we finishes.
And are you a registered architect?
No, I'm a designer. I'm a registered interior designer, but we team up a lot of architects and stuff, and engineers.
I noticed on your letter you made application to the Lebanon, City of Lebanon Board of Zoning Appeals, but you intend to be here, correct? This is not the City of Lebanon.
I'm not sure. I just was told to write that up, and I think we just wrote it like that. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't want to be, you want to be at the Wilson County Board of Zoning, not the Lebanon Board of Zoning?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right, just want to make that clear. And this is a half-acre lot, and what about your soil septic area? Did you get a permit for this outside shed? And
septic?
where does it located in regard to your outside?
It's between the side porch and the shed. It's right between there. And I had Adam Nash come out and dig it up and look at everything and stuff like that, and we've been working on that. But we really want to, if we could turn commercial, I'd like to tap in the sewer and pay the fee and do that if we can.
So if you're wanting to be commercial and tap into the sewer, why didn't you request rezone?
Sir, I've never done this before. It's my first time. And like I said, we were growing so rapidly and fast that we were like, oh my gosh, how do we go about this process? And this has always been one of these things that when we bought that house, I was like, hey, this could probably become commercial someday, just knowing there's other commercial properties around it. And now we're here, and I'm going, okay, how do I think I saw Tom, I think a couple of weeks ago, asking questions about how do we make this process start and how do we do it? And I think I'm just lack of information on it. I just don't know how to go about it right now, but that's where I'd like for it to end up if we can.
So, Tom, it was your recommendation, I think, or a portion of your recommendation that it would be zone commercial?
Well,
Is that right?
I can't promise him that the planning commission, county commission will rezone the property.
Sure.
I did tell him that my recommendation would not likely be for approval in the R1 district as a use on appeal, because I don't have any commercial.
The
uses
auto
to list.
repair shop, you're talking about the one that's directly to the east,
I think it's
parcel or two?
Beasley's or something.
Yeah, that approval goes back before my time, and I'm old, so, it's been there, that approval's been there a long time. And
Could
I
it have
would,
been grandfathered in, the lights, I mean,
No,
the repair shop?
I believe he got a specific use on appeal for something while I've been here since 2001.
Really?
But
Okay.
I don't remember what for.
I don't recall, but the old repair shop's been there a long, long time. Okay.
Is most of this property looks like it's commercial around?
I think that's what
I'm not
Tom
familiar
referred
with
to.
the
There
area.
is quite a
It
bit of
looks like it's-
commercial property in
There's-
there.
That's what it looks like.
This is downtown Gladeville, there's
Okay.
a whole lot of,
Yeah, I think I recognize the house now.
whole lot of going on down there. It's
It's an
between the
older-
church and the
Yeah.
school.
So it's pretty commercial.
It's an
Yeah.
older, larger
Yeah.
house,
Okay.
it's been there some time, and they have done a remodel of the inside that's something to see, and,
Yeah, more than welcome to come anytime.
The issue is, though, it doesn't meet the criteria for this type of variance.
that's correct.
I mean, that's, because the ordinance says if you're gonna have a home-based business, you need to be 20% maximum
Yeah.
of the
And
business,
And also living there,
and also living there.
And not have 5 outside employees,
right,
Yeah, you're limited to what, one?
right.
family and plus one.
And unfortunately, in the Baldwin district, there are no commercial use listings in the uses permissible upon appeal that I could really fit this into.
Okay. We can't speak to what the planning commission may do or the county commission may do in regard to a zoning. It would be inappropriate for us to say, yeah, that would be the way to go, or not. We just can't speak to it. Does the board have any other questions for the applicant? If not, does anyone else here wish to speak to 4075 McKeithen? Okay. Then we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, sir. And turn it to the board in regard to 4075. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we deny this case based on staff recommendations.
I have a motion to deny 4075 based on staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, discussion by the board.
Not that this needs to be in the discussion, but it seems like to me rezoning is the way that he probably needs to go. And staff did mention that somewhat. So, like I said, we can't say whether it'll be approved or not, but that, to me, that seems to be the appropriate way to try this rather than
Yeah, I hate to
No.
comment on things that
Well,
might
I
happen
understand
and
that.
whatnot.
We don't know what the outcomes of that's
I
gonna be,
completely understand, yeah.
but if you can get it rezoned, well, then that would be.
Based on the age of the lot, and Tom, is this an older lot of record, or did y'all look for
So,
that?
I can't remember if it's been subdivided or not, but I think.
The house has obviously
the
been
house
there.
is an old
Yeah,
house.
house predates a lot of things. But, one route might be to request a rezoning. And it may be that since it's an old parcel and an old house, you would come here to have some variances granted, perhaps, as part of, the rezoning request. You might, it may be impossible for you to meet some of the commercial criteria.
Okay.
You just couldn't do it. And you might,
But on the flip side, the advantage of getting it rezoned commercial is it's a much easier request to make of the sewer access committee if you wish to hook on a public sewer. Also.
I would agree with that 100%.
And also taking nothing away from what they've done inside the building already, because they weren't required to get any type of building permit for the internal remodel. They've really done, I really feel like it potentially could be viewed as a nice contribution to downtown Main Street label, if you will. And we probably have at least precedent, if not land use direction, for light intensity commercials such as office space. So,
Well, in my mind,
Yeah.
sort of being familiar with that strip, and some of us have talked about this in other areas, between Dollar General Store and 840 along Stewart's Ferry is if it's not, it should be a commercial candidate.
yeah.
In that strip right there. Now, when you get on the far side of those places, my support would fade pretty quick. But in that little corridor between 840 and Dollar General, wouldn't you say so, Sonia?
Absolutely.
That little strip there, because what's not commercial now might be, in the future, or probably will be. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just a quick question. I'm wondering just if it's something that I can sign a document to continue working there while we're in the process of finding out if we go commercial.
I can amend my motion if need be to allow them to give them a time frame to pursue other.
That would be within your purview to do.
If you want to
So that
amend
would
to
get- that- in the
give
absence
them
of the county
6 months to
attorney.
Yes.
pursue, that would,
Yes, I will amend the motion to allow them 6 months to pursue other avenues to bring this lot into compliance.
okay. And who seconded Perry's original motion?
I did.
Howard, you accept the 6 month?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second that will deny the application for 4075, but allow the applicant to remain there for 6 months to pursue other areas of getting the lot approved or coming into compliance. Any discussion by the board? If not, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Our next case is case 4076. Jackie Wang is requesting to use property as a short-term rental. The property is located at 5205 Hunters Point Pike, Lot 6, Sudduth property, parcel 103 on Wilson County Tax Map 23. The parcel consists of 3.64 acres and is on A1 agricultural. We'll hear staff recommendations now on 4076.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to use the property as a short-term rental. Staff has received a business plan stating how the applicant considers using the property. If the use is granted as a bed and breakfast under our zoning criterion, staff recommends that the business plan be made a part of the approval and put the applicant on notice that if they are to add any sort of structure or expansion to the use of the property, they'll have to come back before the board for a plot plan submittal and revised business plan approval. The business plan states the desired number of guests allowed per stay is 10. The business plan states the number of bedrooms in the home is 5. If granted, the board typically approves 2 tenants per bedroom to make sure that the septic system on the property can serve the intended use and occupancy. Meaning this home needs to have at a minimum a 5-bedroom per. The business plan states the caretakers are located 6.5 miles from the short-term rental or bed and breakfast. Airbnb and short-term rentals are used permissible on appeal under the definition of bed and breakfast in the zoning ordinance within the A1 zone district. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff can recommend approval. If the board approves the request, the applicant will have to make their contact information available to WEMA, the building inspector, and county sheriff's office personnel dispatch. Prior to operating, the applicant will also need to prove that they or the caretaker live within 10 miles of the property before the house can function as a short-term rental, which they've stated they're within 6.5 miles.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4076 Wayne? Yes, sir. Name and address for the board, please.
Jackie Wayne. Address is 5205 Hunters Point Pike, Lebanon, Tennessee.
All right. And what would you like to tell the board, sir?
So this property is, I've done all the work to it, and I just feel like it's a better use as a short-term permit, a short-term rental. My friends came over and they all relayed to that. So it's the first time applying for this. So I just followed the process.
Does the board have questions for the applicant?
Here, and I may be mistaken here, but on this perk, it's 5 bedrooms. Has it
Yes,
been
it is. It's
certified as a
pretty
5-bedroom perk site?
That's correct.
Okay.
The plat that went through the state has on there 5-bedroom approval.
That's for that I'm not quite sure. When I bought it, it was 5-bedroom. So
Yeah, but I have a lot of hesitant about not knowing if it perks for that, because that causes a lot of issues if it doesn't. Is that correct, Tom? I mean, are we?
Yeah, we don't have that information submitted to us, Mr. Crockett, which
Okay.
the applicant at their
We could stipulate that as a condition of
Yeah,
approval.
yeah.
If
I think
you
it
wanna go
would
that
need to
way.
be done that way.
When the lot, I mean, how large was this lot? It was,
It's 3.64 acres.
so it would have had had to go through the planning commission. It would have had a plat that went with it.
Yes.
And on that plat, in order to get under 5 acres approved, there'll be a certification on there of how many bedrooms the lot is actually approved for.
Oh, I think that was 5.
So, since that's not in the record,
Oh, I
you
can
know,
say
if someone were to make a motion to approve, then that might be a stipulation we would put on there, that will have to be surrendered to the, not surrendered, not the right word, supplied to the planning office. Okay. Other questions for the applicant? If not, does anyone else here wish to address 4076 Jackie Wayne? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and turning to the board in regard to 4076. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve based on documentation provided that it is a 5-bedroom perk and it not be operational until that's done, if that's worded correctly.
I'll second that, and let me make an amendment that or offer an amendment that the business plan be part of the approval that they've submitted to us, and that the approval be for 1 year initially. And as Mr. Crockett stated, that it's stipulated on you supplying the permit office with your plat showing that you have a 5-bedroom perk. You accept all that?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. And discussion, and Mr. Bashir.
Yeah, I was wondering if you might wish to consider, so that it doesn't have to come back immediately, if they did find out perchance that they only had a 3-bedroom perk or a 4-bedroom perk, that their occupancy be limited to 2 people per however many bedrooms they have approval for.
That would be appropriate, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
that can-
so we'll amend our stipulation about the number of bedrooms that we will approve 2 people per approved bedroom.
Correct. Yes.
And
That makes sense.
that can be verified through your office.
Yeah.
Okay. Other discussion? Okay, if there's no more, all in favor of the motion as stated, vote aye. Aye. Opposition, vote no. The ayes have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, our next case is case 4077, Sean Brockman, requesting a variance of 16 feet from the south rear yard setback requirement of 40 feet. The existing house is 24 feet from the south rear property line. The variance will allow an addition to be made to the existing home. The addition will meet the 40-foot setback requirement from Rhonda Drive. Property located at 498 Amber Drive, Lot 53. Shelley Acres is Group C, Parcel 8, on Wilson County Tax Map 117K. The property consists of 1.09 acres and is zoned R1 residential. We have staff recommendations now on 4077.
Mr. Chairman, as you can see on the aerial, this is a corner lot. You might have to turn around to see it. I don't know what's going on the screen back here, but so it's one of those cases where we have two rear lots, and they're asking for a variance of 16 feet from that south property line. Another point to point out is that the current house, I believe, is also currently 24 feet from the property line. It is an older lot. This is not an older lot of record, and it's not irregularly shaped. It does have the aspect of it being a corner lot, which makes it, I guess, unique. But given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval.
That being said, though, this is a corner lot with the... Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, who's here to represent?
The addition's meeting all the setbacks, I should point that out.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4077 Brockman? Yes, sir.
I'm Sean Brockman, 498 Amber Drive.
And what would you like to tell the board, Mr. Brockman?
I was looking at the plot plans and it says 40 feet setback from Rhonda. Of course, it didn't say that on the, I guess, between me and the neighbor to the south. So the house, that part's already built. So that was where I guess the issue is. It's 24 feet from between the line to the house that's already built. The addition's on the other side.
So the addition doesn't need a variance?
No.
The addition doesn't encroach.
No, it's going right up to
It's the existing house.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's existing residence.
And this is, we have a situation in our zoning ordinance that sometimes comes into play with these corner lots, and it causes some confusion. So, all right, so the addition doesn't require variance. The existing house does because of the corner lot criteria.
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And does the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay. And if not, does anyone else here wish to address 4077 Brockman? And if not, we will close the public hearing and turning to the board in regard to 4077. Do I hear a motion? And I'll move that we approve the variance request on 4077 based on the fact this is a corner lot and is subject to the implied hardship of being so. Have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye. Aye. Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Okay, our next case is 4078, Tony Dana Whited, requesting a variance of 10 feet from both the east and west side yard setback requirements of 20 feet. The variance will allow the proposed house to be 10 feet from both the east and west side property lines. The property is located at 509 Barton Shore Court, Lot 10. Barton's Cove is Group C, Parcel 10 on Wilson County Tax Map 35A. The property consists of 1.28 acres and is on A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendations on 4078.
Mr. Chairman, you correctly stated the variance request. This is not an older tract of record, nor is it an irregularly shaped lot. Therefore, given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4078? Whitey. Morning.
Dana Whited, our address is 811 Rogers Lane. First of all, since we requested this, we have found out that we can move the septic field, so that helps the situation. But also kind of it is an irregular shaped lot, as you see. It's got 2 dog legs, but they're in 2 different areas of the property line. It makes it hard to set a home in a good direction there. But because we can move the septic field, we don't need a 10-foot variance anymore. We just need maybe 5, and it may not even take all of 5. But we're not asking for 10 any longer. Just, but
Your
it's
request
hard
now
to
would be 5 foot on each side?
And on one side, it's probably only going to use maybe 2 of it, but I need to, just wanting to ask for it just for the coverage there. But it's very hard, very difficult to position a house on this lot because of the way the 2 different dog legs are in different areas of the lot.
So you're very confident with 5 feet on each side?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But this is not, Tom, an older lot of record?
No, sir, it's
Oh.
not.
And go ahead.
I just wanted to know what would be your hardship that you didn't, what's the hardship that wasn't there when you bought the lot?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, in order for us to really seriously consider a variance, we should have one of a few things take place. If it's an older lot of record that was created before the law came into effect, then you get quite a bit of forgiveness.
Yes, sir.
If you have a hardship that was brought on by some government action, like they put a road through your property or a pipeline or something, that's, there are a number of things we can consider. So I was asking you, what has happened that's caused this hardship that wasn't there when you bought it?
I don't think there's any kind of hardship that's happened. We purchased this lot a couple years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. We had been looking for one for a long time, a lake lot. So when this one came available, we were able to purchase it. At the time, we hadn't even discussed house plans. And honestly didn't realize the weird shape of this lot, the way it kind of sits. So there's not really a hardship that's happened. It's just we've modified our house plans 3 different times to try to make it fit and not be a strange looking home.
Being of our age, we're trying not to go up because we don't want to deal with stairs anymore. And that's basically the
Requires a
hardship
bigger
we're doing.
footprint because you're not wanting a 2-story.
Where we don't have to go long and skinny and have a weird.
I think the hardship is your house plan is kind of,
So you're-
the lot as
I've
well.
been through
You're-
several.
I think the one thing you're probably relying upon is the irregularity of the lot in terms of where the corners are from side to side.
It just makes it hard to sit, because when you sit it here, that's what makes it closer to the property on the left-hand side there. Then when you kind of angle the house and it puts the other corner of the house sort of it's to make it not look strange from the street.
Right.
Also,
You kind of want to line it up with the neighbors' houses and the street and keep it in line and not have it look like somebody dropped it out of a helicopter and it landed crooked.
exactly.
And if you look on their plats, it appears it's primarily the corner of the house that really needs the.
But of course, now that we can move it up a little bit, that's we don't need as much. It won't.
Well, and also it would appear the lot's much wider where your field lines are. If your field lines were reversed and you could put the house up front, you would
That's
have.
why
that
we can scoot
Right.
it forward. Of course, we can't bring it all the way forward, then we don't have a front yard area at all.
Did I hear you correctly when you amended, and I'm assuming you've officially amended your request to 5 foot from each side instead of 10, a variance, but did I hear you correctly that you're going to amend your soils area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that would require an amended plat for soils amendment.
And that's in the works already.
Okay.
That's,
Okay, I just want to make sure you're aware of that.
yes, sir.
All right.
Because that was great news. That was, all the way around, that was great news, because that's the largest part of the lot, obviously.
Yes, ma'am.
There are a couple of things that come to mind when we talk about these smaller lots and the houses get pretty close together, and that's one thing is, if the house catches fire and they're so close together, then, one house can catch another house, and that's, That's what, one of the things these setbacks are designed to do, is
Okay.
keep that, you know, or minimize the possibility of that happening. And secondly, if something happens in your backyard or someone else's backyard, and we need to get a fire truck or an ambulance down to the lake, it gets to be pretty hard to get it down there when the houses are so close together. Now, I know everybody wants a big house on the lake, or a big house as they want, but it does get to be pretty tough, you know, to answer some of these emergency calls, I'm sure, that, you know, when you can't get down between the houses.
And I do understand that. But like the house that's on the left of us, once we put, whether we get the variance or not, once we put a fence up like the neighbor has, there's not gonna be a emergent vehicle get between those two lots anyway, with or without a variance.
Okay. Any other questions from the board for the applicant? If not, does anyone else here wish to address 4078 Whitey?
Yep.
Y'all would have a seat. Let's hear from this other gentleman. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Stanley Moss. I live at 507 Barton Shore Court. If you look at the plat up there, I'm the one to the left.
This is swimming pool?
That one right there, yeah. I'm sorry, I used to be a PE teacher, and I had to, when you had elementary kids, if you said go to your right, and you pointed to your right, it's their left. So I always have troubles now. So we've lived in the property. We built our house about 18 years ago. And the plat at that time is the same plats that we've had all the time. There haven't been a change in the plats throughout. And from my understanding, there hasn't been an approved variance to a plot line or wherever you place your house at. If you can look at that diagram up there, you can see that I had the same problem, in that I had to move my soils in order to get the house in there that I wanted and move my house forward. I had to do that. And if you also look at that swimming pool, of course it meets the guidelines with the 20-foot setback. But if you grant the access, what's going to happen is they're going to build a house that will particularly be close to that is what I'm concerned with, and which would devalue the property.
Do you have a 20-foot between your house and the property line?
I do. It doesn't show on that. I was looking at that myself on the county planning thing, but you can go out to where it's staked, and it appears differently than what it is up on that GIS thing.
I got
So
you.
of course, Tony and Dana had it surveyed out there, but it's different than that. In fact, you see the green trees that are up there by the swimming pool. It's a little bit over. We had them all cut down, and it's just on the other side of that. All right. So, in addition to that, there is a water and electric line that runs the property line that goes back to a dock that's behind that, and that's on the side.
The property line between your house and their lot?
Yes, sir.
And is that a Middle Tennessee Electric line with an easement with it?
It is, and then there's a transformer in the back where my lot takes a little jog.
The docks are up here.
Yeah.
The dots are where?
So they're up here just off the photo. The lake kind of comes around right about like that.
But you're saying the primary line comes down the property line?
That's correct. So
I thought those things had a 20-foot each side of the pole easement.
I believe, and I'm not looking at the plat right now, but I believe typically we allow like a 10-foot easement for public utilities, and if Middle Tennessee Electric is paying anything additional, they may have an easement deed. But,
anyhow, that's
yeah, and it's also a private easement. So.
right. And at the time, the owner of the property and myself were in agreement to that. Came to the folks, and anyhow, that's going through that out that way. Of course, I wanted a bigger swimming pool. You mentioned swimming pool. I wanted a 24 by 44, and I couldn't put that in there because of the septic on one side and the setback on the other. So that's why we went with a 20-foot swimming pool, and my wife would have broken my arm if I went that way.
What is the setback on the pool? Is it considered an accessory? Is
It
it
would be an
10?
accessory as long as
Is
it's
it
not
10
attached
foot?
to the house. And our policy has changed over the years, but at the time it was probably built probably 5 foot.
5 foot.
Setback for an accessory, but it could be, it would be 10 now.
So what is your pool from the property line?
I believe it's 20.
You believe it's 20
I believe
And
that.
that may be because at the time we considered it an addition to the house based on.
and not an accessory?
Well, based on the
Right.
amount of concrete connection he had
Okay.
from the back patio to the pool.
Anyhow, I had a permit for that pool
Right.
that was approved.
Is that correct, Kathy?
This all may be a moot point if Middle Tennessee Electric's already got a signed 20-foot easement down through there. And I deal with them quite a bit, and I know things change, but a normal Middle Tennessee Electric easement is 20 foot each side of the pole line. What got signed way back when, I don't have any idea.
Yeah, this is underground, so I don't know.
This is underground?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. It's
All right.
underground. It's not above.
That may be different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's underground. So, I guess my main thing is this, okay? You can change house plans, you can't change plot too easy. I had to change my plan when we moved forward, and I had to get new soils in order to be able to come in there. And I'd ask that it follow the recommendation from the planning committee that it not be approved.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I got a question of Tim. They've amended their request to 15 feet or even, it might even be more than that. It might be, they're looking at somewhere around less than 5 foot, which would make it maybe 15 feet. Anyway, would 3 or 4 feet be that much of a burden on you, of their house, to the property line?
I would put it this way, if you came out there and saw it, I'm just afraid of a big house right beside that pool and it devaluing my property. That's what I'm really concerned with. And this is expensive property. I mean, they paid a lot of money, over $300,000 for that lot. We're talking $1 million homes here, and that could bring down the price considerably. So that's why I'm concerned with it. And we're not talking 5 feet one place, we're talking a total of 10 feet. Or we're talking a total of 20 feet. That's my concern. The plot was there before they purchased the home.
Explain a total of 10 or 20. They had asked for 10.
10 on each side.
And now they say they can get by with 5.
10 on each side.
Or less?
Yeah, now they're
Okay.
requesting.
We might not even need 5.
Yeah, 5
Yeah.
on each side.
3 is probably going to be.
But you're only on one side.
That's correct.
Okay.
And the lines on that one side. So, anyway, I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, sir.
Not really, but I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else here wish to address 4078 Whitey? Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
Terry Monahan, 511 Barton Short Court. I'm on the right-hand side of
This
St.
is you?
Anthony's lot.
Is this you?
Yes, sir. So I came here this morning with the understanding of a 10-foot request. And, so I looked at, I talked to Tony and Dana. They came over to our house and expressed what they wanted to do. I prefer that it not have any change in what the county has. Just my preference. They stated that the lot was very narrow, and as Tom said, it's not really irregular. It does have the dog legs in it. Looking at the plat that is the public record, I'm looking at the septic field, and it's measured across at 86 feet approximately, with 20 feet on each side, so 120 feet basically at that first dog leg. And There are multiple other lots, lot number 3, lot number 4, and lot number 5, that are all the same dimension, and they've put their houses within the setbacks. So I guess I don't want to be a bad neighbor, but my preference would be to not approve that. And I've got letters from 2 other people in our neighborhood that share my view, but again, this was based off of a 10-foot change.
Thank you, sir. Would you like to submit those letters for the record?
Yes, sir.
You don't have to. You can if you want to.
Sure. They took the time to write them. I think they should see them.
You give them to Miss Murphy down there, please.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? We're on 4078 Whitey. Last call. Okay. We'll close the public hearing on 4078. And now turning to the board. Do I hear a motion in regard to 4078 Whitey?
Can I ask Tom a question first?
Absolutely.
Tom, are all these houses that we're looking at here in that whole area, are we sure that every one of those houses have a 20-foot variance?
A 20-foot setback?
Setback, I mean.
I would have to defer to Karen. I don't recall any variance request from the 20-foot setback.
From what I remember, I don't recall either.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Well, the public hearing is closed.
Okay.
But if it's something that's really relevant to our deliberations, sure. I get in trouble when I open it back up.
I'm sorry. I've not had this question before. This thought just hit me. Does that 20-foot setback include like trees and fences and things like that, or is it just your home?
It's your home.
Okay, thank you.
Or your primary structure.
Primary structure to the eave line. So the overhang counts.
Actually to the wall.
Thank you. Okay.
So now we're on walls.
We're on the wall, not the overhang.
Okay, I'm correct. See, things change. Gotcha. Okay. But does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank
Okay. All right. Now, back to the board. In regard to 4078, any discussion or motion? Hold on a minute. Go ahead, Mr. Price.
Okay, just real quick. You're looking at the request here from 10 to 5. Does not, we do this, done it a lot since I've been here, and it seems like a small percentage. And not being down there, I can't visually see where this house is going to sit, and you can tell 3 feet, you know, there. And I respect everybody's opinion and what they've said, but I don't think this is anywhere out of the norm for what we've done in the past since I've been here.
Mr. Neal.
Well, we've had quite a bit of discussion about this, and the neighbors had a lot of input, and I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that that we approve this. They have, I don't consider that the variance at 5 foot or less to be an excessive amount, and I do feel like it's an odd-shaped lot. I feel like they've got soils there in the front, so I do feel like the hardship is there to justify it just because of the shape of the lot and where the soils there is. So I move that we approve this case at 5 foot.
At 5 foot for east and west?
Yes, on each side.
Have a motion to approve the variance request at 5 foot for the east and 5 foot for the west side yard setback line. Do we have a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Now, discussion by the board. There is no discussion. All in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no, and I vote no. And the ayes have it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
And, okay. Our next case is case 4079. Socorro Ponce is requesting to use property to host rodeos. The property is located at 673 Beasley's Bend Road, Lot 14B. Walter Johnson property is parcel 50.21 on Wilson County Tax Map 22. The property consists of 5.81 acres and is on A1 agricultural. We get staff recommendation now on 4079.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting to use the property to host rodeos. The property consists of 5.81 acres that is zoned to A1 agricultural. Rodeos are not a specified use for A1 zoned property in the zoning ordinance, particularly where agriculture does not exist on the property, and this property does not qualify for greenbelt status or agricultural use as described by the state of Tennessee. Staff's opinion. Given the language in the zoning ordinance, staff cannot recommend approval.
Okay, who's here to represent 4079 Ponce? Ponce. I'll get it right in a minute. Morning. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Carla Brooks and I'm the interpreter, and his name is...
Hmm? Okay, what would y'all like to tell the board?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Is there anything, any statements you'd like to make before the board?
That he would like to do the rodeos.
Does he understand why he's brought here and why that's not the right location for something with this? It says he has like 500 people there. Does he understand that that's possibly not the right location for this big of an event? This would be something maybe with, with this event and, like it would be at the fairgrounds or somewhere, not at somebody's private home or something. Right, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, okay.
The staff has recommended denial because according to the zoning ordinance, this is not an allowed use in the A1 zone. Right.
He understands.
Okay, yes, sir. And also, kind of somewhat disturbing is when I look at these notifications, have these been answered? Have you responded to these notifications? I mean,
Are you referring to our zoning violation notification?
yes, sir. On this little packet, final notice violation intent to pursue court action.
He has an answer.
Okay, and it's kind of hard to request these type things and you don't answer these.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
They did come into the office after the violations a couple of times. And they were told that they had the option to go before the board if they would like. So they did come in after they received a letter or two.
Okay, gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, you would find out all of the owners of this property, please.
Would y'all please state for the record the owners of the property?
What is it?
The attorney has asked us if we could for the record, for you to state the owners of this parcel.
He is the owner.
He is the owner.
Sole owner? Is he the sole owner?
Usted es el propietario de todo el terreno. Yes, he is.
By deed? Is there a deed that has, does he have a deed for the property?
He does.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
When's the last time he has had a rodeo on this property?
November 12th.
Of-
November 12th.
Of last year? Okay. In violation of the letters that he's received, you still continue to have rodeos?
He didn't have any notification.
Well, I've got 4 of them, 4 letters right here in this packet that supposedly he received about the complaints and in violation. And they go back before November of last year, some of them.
Lo que pasa es que sí llegó una notificación antes, pero no lo pusieron en el botón. Esa notificación estaba puesta en un poste de luz que está.
He said he got the notification, but it was like in a like on a like on a tree kind of thing. It wasn't on the mailbox inside them. It wasn't in the mailbox.
So they placed the
yes,
sticker,
placed it outside.
stop work or whatever.
Yes, it wasn't in the inside of his mailbox.
Mr. Chairman, it was several family members, I think, that came after the letters were sent. So I don't know specifically who came up to the
So you don't know
office
if
twice.
this gentleman himself or someone else
Correct.
associated with him?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because they explained that he didn't speak English, and so the person that I spoke to did speak English.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Does the board have any other questions for the applicant?
If not, let's see if anybody else wishes to speak. Okay. Anyone else wish to address 4079?
I wish to speak, please. Hi, Beth Bowman, 2055 Wilkes-Barre Road, District 6 Commissioner. I have prepared a packet for you today. I have had 20 families that have reached out to me in regards to the rodeo use of this land, and I think I can go through each of their concerns by looking and addressing the advertisement and flyers that have been produced for the rodeo. District 6 is a very rural district, so roping, riding, arenas, rodeos are somewhat common in District 6. However, concerns over that are not common in District 6. The 20 families that have reached out to me, most overwhelmingly is in regards to the noise of the event. You'll see at the bottom of the flyer, there's live entertainment at all of the rodeo events. There is concert staging that is set up. There are speakers that are brought in. And I've had neighbors from roads away, miles down the road, that have expressed concern over the decibel of the noise that comes from the music at the venues. You will also see that there is food at the rodeos. We have had food trucks that have come down Beasley's Bend Road. It's a rural road. We know Wilson County roads, they're tight and narrow. And it is hard to accommodate those oversized loads on those narrow roads. You also see that there's a fee, a $40 fee on here. And you can buy these tickets on just doing a Google search on stayhappening.com, goallevents.com, and you can even link to Facebook. You can no longer purchase through there, but you can link to the event and know that it was active at one time on there. And all of this is occurring on a size of property that is a little over 5 acres, 5.1 acres. So cars are parked on Beasley's Bend Road. It's a curvy, hilly, windy road that doesn't really accommodate parking on the side of the road. And it has been noted that additional properties have had to be opened up to try to accommodate the large number of guests that come to these events. And so I respectfully ask for denial of this use of the land based on the fact I don't believe it's an agricultural use of this land. It leans on an event or a commercial use of property. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I got a question for her.
Yes, sir.
Doing this research, do you see anything where there's a proposed rodeo for the future that you're trying to sell tickets for?
I have not seen an upcoming rodeo, not since the notices have gone out. I have not seen any forthcoming events that have been noted.
Okay.
Thank you. And anyone else wish to address 4079? Yes, sir. Either one of y'all come on forward, we're gonna get to both of you.
Okay, my name is Russell Connor. I live at 607 Beasley's Bend Road, which is the property adjacent to Mr. Ponce. And he's had several rodeos, and I can tell you it's been hell. The speakers is like living in a, a concert. It goes on all night, gunshots, and the next day the trash that's thrown over the property is ridiculous.
Mr. Connor, which home is yours? Is it on the map?
Yes, it's on the map. It's right below.
That one?
No, next one right there. Yes, and it goes on till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I have 2 teenage boys. They can't study. Some nights, and I just can't even really describe because we've been living there for 20 years, and we've never had anything like this. But I've talked to other neighbors, and there was a Mr. His name was Bobby. He lived in the property in front. He came over. He said, "I can't do it." He moved. He sold his property to Mr. Schultz, and we can't stop him. We're gonna move because we can't take it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. You wanted to speak?
Name's M. Lehman. I live at 547 Beasley Bend. Everything's pretty much been said already. It's the volume that the neighbors are complaining about. And it does start around 2 o'clock in the afternoon based on what they did last year. And it goes on until I call the cops. And they come and try and stop it, and they get ignored. So that's about all I got to say.
And did you say you live adjacent to it as well?
No, south. There. Bring it up. See that white roof?
Right there?
No, down here. There, that's me.
Okay. I apologize.
I'm 150 yards away, and it's like being in the middle of a concert. Bad concert.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to address 4079 Ponce? If not, then I'll close the public.
I don't have any factual information. I'll just give you something that's at work in the county right now, and that is for the last 18 months or so, committees have been talking about a noise ordinance for the county, which we do not have. My purpose in saying that to you is there seem to be 3 events in the county that are driving that are giving law enforcement problems. And this is one of them. And the gentleman that last spoke is correct. The sheriff's department's had to go out there several times, but they don't have a noise ordinance to support it.
But we have a use ordinance to support this particular situation because it's not an allowed use, correct?
Well, yeah, they're two separate things. I mean, sheriff doesn't really enforce zoning, but he can enforce disturbing the peace or noise or whatever. I fully expect there to be a noise ordinance at the April County Commission meeting to be voted upon. Whether it passes or not, I don't know. But this, as a matter of fact, of the 3 things that are cited over and over to me about how to deal with, this one was the first one, was the rodeo, because the complaints we got, it was going on pretty much all night.
And basically, the sheriff's department can do very little about it at 2 o'clock in the morning, or, other than just say, "Hey, quieten down," and then leave.
Yeah.
And then it continues.
And it continues. I think
If we act on this today, the ordinance that gets enacted perhaps in April will not be at play with it.
It won't, and actually, I gave you that just for discussion purposes, but actually it's a dual track. You've got a potential zoning violation here, certainly if y'all deny it and it continues, and then we may very well have a noise violation. But right now, we don't have anything to support the noise part.
Okay. Well, the public hearing is closed, and we're discussing it. Is it going to hurt your feelings that part of the motion is for you to take this, clean it up at the Chancellor's Court?
No, you've been around me long enough to know you can't hurt my feelings.
I've tried a couple of times.
I know you have. You've been close to time too, you're all right.
Okay. Anyway, I did ask. All right, so turning to the board in regard to 4079, any discussion? And if not, I'll make a motion to deny the request of 4079 based on staff recommendations and the fact this is not an allowed use in the A1 district. And also as part of my motion, I'll ask the county attorney to make sure this gets filed on as soon as practical. That's my motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I don't know that it needs to be brought up in the motion or anything, but I just think the size and the volume of this is what's, like the commissioner said, I mean, there's roping pins out in the area, but they're not, you know, they don't have live bands, or they don't have, you know, it's not going on all night. But anyway, I don't know that needs to be anywhere. It's already been stated, but the size and scope of this, I think, is what
Is a
really
problem.
sets it apart. Yes.
And that brings it to the level of it's not an appropriate
Right,
use.
absolutely.
All right, any more discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition vote no. The ayes have it. Thank all y'all for coming.
Now, Mr. Chairman, I need to say that I will do that, but I have one more in Ms. Bowman's district that she's waiting on me for. So
You have one?
I have one more in Ms. Bowman's district, Commissioner Bowman. So I'm going to get that done before, so that I don't need it.
I'm sure she'll communicate properly with you and y'all will coordinate that.
Oh, we discussed it. She's very kind about it.
I did.
Mr. Blades. Let's move on. Our next case is 4080 Southern Land Ventures LLC, requesting it to renew a short-term rental. The board approved the short-term rental on March 17th for 1 year. The property located at 6030 Bluewater Drive, Lot 25. Twin Cove is Group B, Parcel 25 on Wilson County Tax Map 15H. The property consists of approximately 20,000 feet and is on A1 agricultural. Your staff recommendation now on 4080.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request to renew a bed and breakfast, short-term rental style bed and breakfast. The property was approved on March 17th of 2022 for 1 year. The use and amenities of the property have not changed, nor have there been any public complaints on the property. Staff can recommend approval of the request. The grant of extension is in the purview of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and how long to grant it for is in the purview of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Staff will point out that in renewal cases such as this, if the request is approved, the board typically grants an extended renewal period of 2 years for a subsequent approval.
Okay. Who's here to represent 4080 Southern Land Ventures?
I am Micah Neal. My husband
Address,
and I-
please.
220 Ridgeview Preserve Drive, Mount Juliet.
And anything you'd like to tell the board?
No, sir. My business proposal still stands.
Board have any questions for the applicant?
What's the number of guests?
I believe you guys said it at 6 last year.
Okay.
It doesn't
You're
read
leaving
that.
at 6. Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Does anyone else wish to address 4080 Southern Land? Thank you, ma'am. Last call, and public hearing is closed. In regard to 4080, any discussion or motion?
I'll make a motion we approve for 2 years.
Have a motion to approve for 2 years. I have a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve for 2 years. Let me amend that the business plan continue to be in force. You accept, Mr. Blades?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Okay. Motion is stated to renew for 2 years with the business plan remaining in effect. Any discussion? If not, all in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposition vote no. And the ayes have it. Mr. Bashir, other business.
We have a continuing education session coming up next Tuesday, March 21st at 5 p.m. for members of the board and any affiliated staff members. could RSVP if you intend to come, as well as planning commission, since George Bain over here. I've had some requests by some county commissioners to come. You're certainly welcome to come. Just keep in mind it is for the purposes of educating our board of zoning appeals members and our planning commission. And it's a local attorney of some regional reputation, George Dean, that's dealt a lot or dabbled a lot in land use planning issues and land use zoning issues. Some of the things specifically I suggested that might be of interest to y'all, in addition to just standard board of zoning appeals practices and planning commission practices, is Religious Institutionalized Persons Act, which is a federal act, Tennessee Religious Freedom Act, which is a state act regarding our ability or lack thereof to do things at times with regard to religious outreaches. Also, agricultural law in the state of Tennessee as it engages with state planning law. And I think there are a few other things I've suggested would be good topics that I think would be good for y'all to consider.
Let me back up a little bit. Commissioner Evans, do you have something for the board, or you just joining us?
Yes, sir.
That's fine. Come anytime. All right. Anyone else have anything else we need to talk about?
If the county commissioners wish to come, I'd appreciate it if you could RSVP too, so we got enough to read.
All right. We are adjourned.